Studies to find out how loom weights of varying shapes and varying holes are combined with the warp. A lecture given by Ingrid Schierer at the EAC 12 in March 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues who carry out experiments in the area of textile research, I will display some of my experiments concerning the warp-weighted loom and announce the results. The loom was constructed by Wolfgang Lobisser to be used exclusively in experiments and tests. The construction is not based on a singular archaeological finding. Unfortunately, no wooden construction of a warp-weighted loom fully equipped with the weights and the weave has been found. The warp, stretched on the loom, ready for weaving twill. 4 rods, 4 rows of weights, and this setup will not be changed. To bind the warp threads to the loom weights, or to put it the other way round, fixing the loom weights onto the warp threads is essential. The loom weights create the tension pointing downward. The tools, some of them may be needed, but they are not found and not handed down to us. Loom weights made only for the experiments. They are discoid with an eccentric off-center hole. The hole is big enough to pull a bundle of threads through it and knot it around the loom weight. Examples of loom weights in the shape of a truncated pyramid and with small holes. They will be subject of further studies. In recent excavations and in the archives of the museums, a great number of loom weights of different size, different weight and differently shaped holes are to be found. In general, the weaving process in prehistoric times is theoretically understood, but many features of the excavated loom weights raise questions, such as some of them are very heavy, some of them have only small holes, some of them have a large base area and a pointed top, sometimes long layers with many pieces have been found, and so on. In the first and the second tests, the threads are pulled through the holes of the loom weights. In every row there are 5 of loom weights. The threads are not separated above the weights, and this arrangement creates gaps after every 6 threads in a row. In the third test, the weave is between the red threads. No weights are used. The warp threads are wound around long sticks parallel to the ground. The warp threads are not separated above these sticks. In my tests, I used the loom weights together with the warp in various ways. First, bundles of warp threads are pulled through the holes. Second, the warp is wound around long wooden sticks parallel to the ground. Third, the wooden sticks are weighted with only one heavy weight in the middle. Fourth, small sticks are put through the holes and the warp threads are wound around these small sticks. 5. Every thread is fixed to the handle in a way which keeps the distance between them equal. 6. A stitch chain separates the warp threads above the weights. 7th, each hole in each weight got a leather band knotted into a loop and the threads are pulled through the leather loops, and others. From the 6th test onwards, all the threads in the 4 rows of the loom weights are isolated from each other by using a stitch chain to get even distances. The leather loops are removed and substituted and replaced by small sticks which are poked through the holes. The warp threads are wound around these small sticks, not pulled through the holes. The warp threads are not separated from each other with a stitch chain. Overview of results. The weights have been removed and the weave is without tension. Summary. First, as can be seen at the foil where the overview is shown, there are only minor differences between the results. Second, all attempts show a nice, dense fabric. At some attempts it is a little more warp-stressed, and at others it is rather weft-stressed. Third, the fabric is looser at the left and the right selvage. 4. The gaps created by the bundles and the loom weights show no effect in the small piece of fabric which has been done. Maybe in the long run it would show some consequences. Surprisingly, weaving works also very well without weights. 6. Pulling apart the warp into a trapezoid shape does not bring the benefit someone may hope for. 7. The fixed setting of the heddles and the stitch chain that creates equal spacing seem to be essential. 8. The knots will have to be done carefully at weaver's knots or overhand knots, otherwise the knots will loosen and the weights sink down.